Hello, this is Paranormal Girl, and today I'm going to talk about the Greek god Zeus. Zeus was the king of the Olympian gods and the supreme deity in Greek religion, often referred to as the father of the god of thunder and the cloud gatherer. He controlled the weather, offered signs and omens, and generally dispensed justice, guaranteeing order amongst both the gods and humanity from his high seat on Mount Olympus. Zeus's father was Kronos and his mother was Rhea. Kronos had usurped control of the heavens from his father Uranus, and he was constantly wary of not having the same thing happen to him from his own children. To preempt any takeover, he therefore swallowed all of his children, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. However, Rhea saved her youngest child Zeus by wrapping a stone in swaddling clothes and giving it to Kronos to swallow. Zeus was spirited away to Mount Dicta on the island of Crete, where he was raised by the primeval goddess Gaia, which was Earth, or in some versions by the nymphs. Among these was the nymph Amalthea. In some versions of the myth, she was a goat who suckled the young god. On reaching adulthood, Zeus made Kronos cough back up the children he had swallowed, and Zeus then married his sister Hera. However, the lawless Titans, encouraged by Gaia, immediately tried to wrestle control of the world from the Olympian gods in a 10-year battle known as the Titanomachy. The Titans were the brothers and sisters of Kronos, and it was only through the help of the Cyclops, who made Zeus his lightning bolts, and the 100-handed giants of Hecatoncheires or Briareas, Cotus, and Gyges, that Zeus was finally able to imprison the Titans in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld. Making himself ruler of the skies, Zeus then gave dominion over the seas to Poseidon and the underworld to Hades. The Olympians still could not reign peacefully, though for Gaia then enlisted the help of the terrible and savage giants to battle with Zeus in the gigantomachy. The Olympians were this time helped by the great hero Hercules, and after Zeus outwitted Gaia in her attempts to give the giants a magic herb, they once again won the battle for control of the world. Not, however, before the giants had created great destruction by moving mountains, islands, and rivers. Zeus's reign was only once more challenged when some of the gods, notably Hera, Athena, and Poseidon, tried to take over Zeus's role as head of the Olympian gods and bound him to his bed. The father was, however, freed by one of the Hecatoncheires, and the status quo restored. Zeus's offspring, although first married, briefly it seems, to the Titan Metis, and then married Hera, Zeus was infamous for his adulterous affairs, during which he often transformed himself into various incarnations to bed his prey. He therefore had many offspring. And I'm not going to read these out because they're far too many to read out, but I'll leave the link in the description for anyone else who wishes to read them. But he did have quite a few offspring, and a few of the well-known ones are Ares, that he had with Hera, Athena with Metis, but as Zeus swallowed his wife in fear a son would usurp his position, Athena was born from Zeus's head, and she became the god's favourite child. And then there's Apollo and Artemis from Leto, Hermes with the nymph Maia. Zeus, imprisoned by his trickery and silver tongue, gave him the role of messenger of the gods. And if you've ever seen Percy Jackson, you will remember the god You remember the Greek god with the wings on his feet, and that was the god Hermes. Then there was Dionysus with Semele, who, being tricked by the jealous Hera, asked to see Zeus in all his godly splendor and immediately expired as a consequence. Dionysus was born from Zeus's thigh as a result of his mother's premature death. And then you have Hercules with Alcmene, and he was therefore forever the subject of a jealous Hera scheming, but on his death, Zeus brought him to Mount Olympus and made him into a god. And then you've got Perseus with Dana, who was won over to the charms of Zeus when he appeared to her as a golden rain in order to enter her chamber where she was imprisoned by her father Acrisius. And there's a few others there, the 9 muses, who also his offspring. Zeus was also regarded as the founder of certain races, notably the Magnesians and the Macedonians. He also turned ants into magnificent fighting Myrmidons for his son Acos, later to be led by Achilles in the Trojan War. Zeus the Punisher. The god was also the great punisher. Those who did wrong or committed acts of impiety were severely punished, often for all time. The Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus, and having acts of impiety against Zeus, Apollo, and Poseidon, they were made to build the magnificent walls of Troy, which proved so useful in the Trojan War. An explanation for the war in mythology was that Zeus sought to curb the rising population of humanity. Zeus also selected Paris as the judge in the famous beauty contest between Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena. And when the young prince won Helen as his reward for choosing Aphrodite, it was cited as another more human cause for the Trojan War. Other victims of Zeus's vengeance included the Titan Prometheus, who is condemned to have his liver eaten by an eagle every day after he stole fire from the gods and gave it to humankind. Atlas had to support the heavens for eternity because of his role in the Titanomachy. Sisyphus, punished for his trickery, was condemned to forever roll a huge stone up a hill in the underworld. Asclepius was killed by one of Zeus's thunderbolts because the former's medicine and his ability to raise the dead threatened the balance of power between men and gods. Pandora, the first woman, was sent into the world by Zeus as punishment for receiving the gift of fire, and she was to be the source of all mankind's misfortunes, carried with her in a box. Phineus, who was tricked by Hera into blinding his 2 sons, was himself blinded by Zeus, who also sent the Harpies to continuously harass him. Ixion rashly declared his love for Hera, and so Zeus banished him to Hades, to be forever bound to a rotating wheel. Lycaon gave human flesh to Zeus to test his divinity, and the god punished his impudence by turning him into a wolf. Salmoneus thought he was a god and pretended to be Zeus by throwing flaming torches for lightning bolts and riding his chariot to make a noise like thunder. But Zeus swiftly put a stop to his antics by killing him instantly with a real lightning bolt. The list goes on, but the message is clear. Wrongdoing and lack of respect would be severely punished. Zeus the Peacemaker. Despite the terrible punishments Zeus would inflict, he was also a peacemaker, famously reconciling Apollo and Hermes when they fought over the first lyre. Similarly, Zeus resolved the conflict between Apollo and Hercules over the tripod from Delphi. He also persuaded Hades to part with Persephone for part of each year, and so end the terrible drought her mother Demeter had caused for the human race in protest at being held captive in the underworld. For mere mortals, Zeus was at least fair-minded. At his feet, Zeus had the jars of fate, one full of bad things, another full of good things, and he dispensed both with justice. Similarly, the time of a mortal's death was carefully weighed in Zeus's golden scales. Sites that were sacred to Zeus. Zeus had an oracle, the oldest in fact, at Dodona in northern Greece, with ascetic priests served an oracle which interpreted the sounds from the wind in the branches of the sacred oak trees and the babbling of water from the holy spring. Another great sanctuary dedicated to Zeus was at Olympia, where every 4 years from 776 BCE, the Olympic Games drew crowds from all parts of the Greek world to honour the father of the gods, and where 100 oxen were sacrificed to Zeus at the end of each Games. Also at Olympia, the massive 5th century BCE temple of Zeus housed the gigantic gold and ivory statue of the god by Phidias, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Another important sacred site for the god were on Mount Lycaos in Athens, Nemea and Pergamon, Stratos and in Libya. There were surprisingly few festivals in honour of Zeus. One was the Diaseia of Athens. Generally, though, Zeus, as head of the Greek pantheon, was omnipresent, and so made no particular attachments to specific cities. Zeus was, however, worshipped in most family homes, where an altar was often dedicated to him in each courtyard. For Zeus Herkios, he protected the family hearth and property in general. He was also Zeus Xenios, the god of hospitality. Zeus Polios, protector of cities. Zeus Horkios, guardian of oaths. And Zeus Soter, the protector and general benefactor to all. Representations in art. In Greek art, Zeus is almost bearded and carries either a lightning bolt or a scepter. He was also strongly associated with bulls, oak trees, and eagles. One of the latter sometimes appears at his side when he does not have his lightning bolt or scepter. Zeus is a central figure in the east pediment of the Parthenon, but without doubt the most majestic representation of the god is a bronze statue from Artemisium of 460 BCE, where he confidently stands feet wide apart, about to launch a thunderbolt. Some scholars believe the figure is Poseidon, but the art historian J. Boardman presents the convincing argument that the stance is much more familiar to the representations of Zeus in Greek art. And if the figure held a trident much longer than a thunderbolt, it would obscure the face, an undesirable aesthetic consequence for Greek sculpture. Greek poetry is another rich source of the myths involving Zeus, in particular scenes representing his many metamorphoses, and Zeus also appeared on many coins, notably those of Elis. So let's have a look at the statue of Zeus. And this is a famous bronze statue of Zeus, and you can see by this hand here he would have held a bolt of lightning. There's no way he could have held a trident because that would have obscured his body. He does look, if you look at the beard and his hair, he looks very majestic. And this is held in Cape Artemisium. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe and comment. And if there's any other videos you would like me to do, please leave a comment down below. Thank you.